Elaine Saxby to move the motion.
Thank you. I beg to move that this House has considered British meat and dairy products. And it is a great pleasure to serve under your chairmanship, Ms Garney.
Thank you, thank you.
I'm grateful to secure this important debate at a time when there appears a growing disjoint between media coverage of farming and the reality of those of us who live amongst it. I hope at a baseline we can all agree that in order to survive, we need to eat. In this country, we are fortunate that generally we can choose what we eat and where we buy it from, albeit with factors such as price, availability, and especially concern for the environment influencing our decisions. Historically, there was far less choice in the food we consumed, and our reliance on homegrown produce significantly greater than it is today. But if the pandemic has taught us one thing, it's good to be able to produce at home what you need, and we all need to eat. As a former fitness instructor, I know well how a healthy and nutritious diet is vital to ensuring your body has the nutrients it needs to not just survive, but indeed to thrive. Those needs change at different points in our life and according to our activity levels. And if we are going to tackle climate change in a meaningful way, then healthy bodies with healthy minds are best equipped to do this. I'm fortunate to represent North Devon, home to 475 NFU members, including 95 dairy farmers and 323 livestock farmers. I don't need to go far to find delicious, nutritious British food that comes from environmentally responsible sources. British meat and dairy is produced to some of the highest environmental and welfare standards in the world. And buying local can reduce the environmental footprint of our supply chains and incentivise sustainable farming. To take one example, according to the Government's Committee on Climate Change, greenhouse gas emissions from UK beef are about half the global average. Since COVID started, many of us have begun shopping more locally, and our local farmers have adapted and innovated to help their communities through the pandemic. In Croyd, in my constituency, the Hayward family have adapted their North Hole organic milk farm to sell through a vending machine to their local community. The milk is delicious, and the whole vending machine experience a great way to link locals to their farm. And watching the fully robotic milking parlour is also an incredible experience. These organic cows have a great life, and their milk is highly nutritious. Dairy products contain high-quality protein, calcium, B vitamins, iodine and potassium, and dairy foods such as milk, cheese and yoghurt are vital to bone health. Importantly, the greenhouse gas footprint of UK milk production is just 40% of the global average. This means there are 278 million dairy cows worldwide. Yet if they were all as efficient as UK dairy cows, we would only need 76 million of them to produce the same amount of milk. This week is Great British Beef Week, which this year is focused on recognising and highlighting British beef farmers and the work they do to support sustainable practices on their farms. Red meat is one of the richest sources of essential nutrients such as iron, zinc and B vitamins, as well as a great protein source. Red meat is also much lower in fat than it was 20 years ago. My local NFU chair, Daniel Balmont, is the third generation on their beef and sheep farm near Brayford. Daniel maximises the grass that their farm grows well to convert to protein, as 65% of farmland in the UK is best suited to growing grass rather than other crops. And the UK climate is ideal for growing grass. Other crops could not be grown for food on so many of these farms. And this has to be factored in to maximising the output from our land. Farmers have always been custodians of the countryside, and the Agriculture Act is potentially the biggest victory for both nature and farming in a generation. Under the framework of public money for public goods, farmers will be paid according to the benefits they provide to the public, mostly environmental improvements, rather than on how much land they farm. Our British farmers are already committed to reducing their emissions and reaching net zero ahead of the government's 2050 deadline. And this policy will go a long way towards supporting them. Livestock provide us with healthy, fertile soil, beautiful landscapes, as my North Devon constituency is testament to, efficient water use, carbon sequestration, and unique biodiverse wildlife habitats. The current suggestion that reducing meat and dairy consumption is a solution to climate change is an oversimplification. As I said earlier, we all have to eat, and in general we choose what we eat. So much of the food on our supermarket shelves has travelled thousands of miles to get there and is not produced to as high a standard as we do here in Great Britain. Many non-dairy or meat-free alternatives are shipped across the world to reach us, are less nutritious, with less protein, are higher in saturated fat, and are nowhere near as good for the environment as British meat and dairy. For example, products such as almond milk require 20 times more blue water, that's water from normal water supply, than British dairy milk, which is much more reliant on green water, that is natural rainfall. So when choosing what to put in your shopping basket, look for the red tractor, the symbol of British farming. Buying locally and seasonally may not only give you a much better diet, but will do significantly more to reduce emissions compared to the alternatives. We can all do our bit to work towards net zero by buying local British produce to support our great British farmers.